Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
We have Ashok Leyland's MD and CEO Vinod Dasari and Lata Venkatesh also joining us to take us through that conversation. Lata, over to you.
Thanks a lot for that, Arib. And I just want to add, Mr. Dasari, thank you very much for joining me. But there are a few more points that we got that the new truck loading rules are going to apply prospectively, and older vehicles will have to get an approval from the government to be able to avail of this extra load carrying permission. First up, how does this affect the industry? How does it affect your company?
Well, it is rather confusing at this point because somebody who has bought a vehicle, let's say, for 25 ton, that vehicle has been designed for a GVW of 25 tons. The braking has been designed for 25 tons, and everything has been on the vehicle chassis has been designed for 25 tons. I know that suddenly if they put in something where people can carry extra load, and while they are saying that they will now be extra stringent on the penalties, I don't know to what extent that is possible. If they can be extra stringent on penalties, why are they not extra stringent on penalties today? Well, if somebody is breaking the law, they should be stringent on it. So I'm worried about safety norms being violated. If the argument that the government has that they are overloading that much anyway today, well, if they are overloading that much anyway today, then there should be no impact on vehicle volumes, because tomorrow they will say, okay, now you carry 28 tons, and that would be all that you are allowed to carry, and it will be very strictly imposed. So if that's the case and they're able to very strictly impose, then there should be no impact on volumes, because their whole argument is that this is only being done because that vehicles are overloaded anyway. Now, I find it a bit surprising on two reasons, Lata. One, somebody who's bought a vehicle today and somebody is going to buy a vehicle, let's say, after Tuesday, what does somebody who bought a vehicle do? I mean, he has a vehicle for 25 tons. He cannot suddenly get it registered for 28 tons because the brakes and everything have been designed for 25 tons.
Yeah, actually, that is going to be, yes.
Secondly, I want to add, Lata, that even in US, a one-axle truck or two-axle trucks have got the difference between India and US is 16 to 18 tons. Here we are going to 19 tons, which is the world's highest.
Okay.
Similarly, on three-axle trucks, we are going from 25 to 28. Once again, US is only at 26, which is the highest in the world. So we are going much higher than the world. And I am not sure our roads can take something like that. So if overloading, if you argue that overloading is anyway happening, well, put the stringent norms today.
Absolutely. No, actually, why I was trying to interrupt you is that this came with a further statement, or rather, I mean, again, this is source-based information, that older vehicles will have to get an approval from the government. I mean, this is a little surprising. First of all, which government? When you say government, do you mean it is an RTO? Is it a state government? Is it central government? And what permission will you get? I am 25, let me load till 28. Is that the kind of permission you should be asking?
Yeah, but that is probably what is being hinted, but I'm surprised because if that was the case, why weren't they doing it anyway? Because they're saying that you should not overload because it's not safe, it's not good for the roads and so on. And suddenly I will now give you a higher axle load to carry. I mean, I see a benefit for this when you can't get into the era of electric vehicles and so on. So if at all the government wants to do something like this, I would say do it from 2020 or something, when more EVs will be there and there is a higher propensity because the battery packs are heavy and so on, and that's when you need higher axle loads. But doing it right now in the middle of all of this, when everybody's struggling to get to BS6 and struggling with electric vehicles, it seems wrong. But between you and me, Lata, if the argument is anyway they are overloading, now we will make sure that they don't overload, but they will only get to 28 and nothing higher. Well, that should have no impact on the volume then.
Okay, but separately we were told that the new rules apply prospectively, and for the old ones you have to take a permission vehicle by vehicle. Now, if you only say that the new rules apply prospectively, how does that change the game for companies like yours? Will you all have to modify vehicles?
Yeah, the other thing that Lata nobody is talking about is that typically a 6-ton front axle takes a 295 tubeless radial. Now, if you go to a 7.5-ton, it requires a 305 radial, which is not available in India in very high volume.
Okay.
So to develop that might take a year.
Okay.
So suddenly,
Okay.
there's no tire capacity in India to do something like this. So that's another thing that we are all puzzled by as to what is the requirement, what is the urgency for this. I'm not so sure I understand.
Did you try to reach out to the government, or did SIAM try to reach out to the government?
SIAM suggested that if you want to do this, please do it from a prescribed date, which is at least a year or two away, along with BS6 norms, because we are anyway all testing our products for BS6. So we will test it with higher axle loads. We will design the chassis accordingly.
Okay.
So,
But no question of allowing existing vehicles on the road to, legalize what they should not be doing.
well, I'm surprised how they will do that. I mean, on one hand, you could argue that, let's say somebody had designed the vehicle for zero overloading.
Yeah.
How will that vehicle stop? How will the engine carry that much more horsepower? That will mean much more fuel consumption, much higher emissions. If the argument is that the vehicles were anyway carrying more capacity, which our vehicles are designed to carry more load, if that is the argument that your vehicles were anyway being overloaded, so why are you worried about it? Well, then I should have no impact on volume, right?
Okay. Generally, who will give the permission if that's what they're saying? That, companies fleet operators can take extra capacity, but after seeking approval. Normally, who is the approving authority?
It will have to be an ARAI or a RTO that has to be approving this.
Okay. That doesn't sound like a corruption-free method. But Mr. Dasari, how do you expect demand to pan out, assuming this is the rule, that, prospectively...
Like I said,
yes.
in my mind, Lata, if the argument is they are anyway overloading 20-25%, but we will become very stringent and slap them with 10 times the fine, and hence we are going ahead with this 20-25% increase in allowable weight, then it should not impact us anyway, right?
Okay.
Because they were anyway overloading that much.
Okay. But if you do, try to change your current vehicles, which are already, which are going to be produced, will that mean, first of all, will you tweak? And if you do, will that mean higher cost?
Of course. If you have to use bigger tires, you have to use bigger axles, you have to use bigger steel frame sections, everything has to be designed. Can you guarantee that they will not overload beyond 28?
No, we cannot guarantee that at all. But obviously, the
right?
deterrent will be a fine.
We always design our vehicles to be at least 25-30% overload.
Okay.
Right? Because some customer will do it and we don't want to break down.
Okay.
So we'll have to, everybody would have to operate their vehicles and the costs will go up, and the costs go up, obviously it will be passed on.
Okay. But what are you expecting, say, from tomorrow itself? Your dealers, will they find more demand, less demand, or will it be unchanged because, the rules don't really change much for prospective vehicles?
First, I think this will cause confusion, unnecessary confusion. I think people will say, shall I wait? Shall I do something? But I think in a week or so, it will all settle down and people will say, wait a minute, I was anyway doing it. Now I will be legally doing it. So let me continue to buy more vehicles. Before
or will they say that I'm anyway overloading and I'm allowed to legally now, so let me postpone the next vehicle? Because that's why truck maker stocks fell today.
If I'm legally, let's say it's effective from Wednesday. So if I'm a fleet owner, I'll say, well, I was anyway overloading. Now I'm legally allowed to do it. So it doesn't affect my decision.
Okay. But chances
now I can legally do it and I don't have to be worried about somebody slapping me with a fine. No RTO can stop me and so on.
Okay. So you basically won't expect any demand change at your end at this point?
No, I don't expect it.
Okay. And you will start tweaking your vehicles or changing them anytime soon, or you'll wait for more clarity?
At this point, we don't require to, because our vehicles are anyway designed to carry about 25-30% overload.
Okay.
But if this trend happens and it continues, only when new tires are available, Lata, please note that I'm saying that the tires are not available. Only when they are available, we will upgrade.
All right. Point taken, Mr. Dasari. Thank you very much for joining us and giving whatever clarity you can. on this topic, which at the moment is a little confusing. As Mr. Dasari says, chances are nothing should change because people who are overloading will now do it with the satisfaction that, okay, we will not be caught because the law allows it, and the demand cycle therefore should not change. Back to you, Ari.